Alright, hello there guys, it's Mercy. Welcome back to another product review, and today I'll be doing a review on the IPI Float 88. Before we start with the review, just a disclaimer, this is actually lent out to me by a friend of mine, very nice guy, the same guy that helped me with the Death Eater video back in the day, if you remember that one. So huge thanks to him. This video would not be possible without him lending me the IPI Float, but that does not change any thoughts that I will have during this video. All opinions I will say during this video is my honest opinion, so you don't have to worry about that. Before we start talking about the mouse, let's talk about the packaging. It's a black box with a gold. It's very nice. I don't know what this say, especially but it's IPI there, triangle there, the website, and some made in China stuff. In the packaging you will get extra skates that I do not get, a very hard braided cable. This is not even paracord, it's really stiff, and a grip tape that you can apply on the mouse. So like usual, let's start and talk about the shape of the IPI Float. We'll just talk about the objective measurements first. It is 119mm in terms of its length, 61mm on its widest point, with 37mm on its hump, which is more towards the middle of the mouse. And you know, just first look at this mouse, it looks very similar to something like the WLMouse Beast-X or the Finalmouse Medium. Personally, I've used the WLMouse Beast-X before. I don't have it anymore, unfortunately, but I've never tried Finalmouse. I never own one. I've tried them, I just never own one, and it's close enough to call it like a Finalmouse clone or copy-ish, but it's different enough that I personally would prefer going for the Finalmouse shape or the WLMouse shape. Personally though, I don't think that really matters because the price is just way too different between the other two mouse that I mentioned. It's $50, and for $50 this shape, any complaints that I will have to this shape is personally just nitpick. It's good enough that I can perform quite well in game in Valorant, Apex Legends, and some other tracking heavy game like Overwatch, but it's not my preferred choice for a low flat mouse that is more towards the medium shape. I personally just like the Beast-X more, the way it flares out on the front with a deeper curve on the side. But again, for $50 I would not complain. I play incredibly well with the IPI Float, and to me that's all that matters. The shape itself, again, is a low hump, more flatter mouse with flat sides. And for my 19 by 10.5 centimeter hands, I want to relax pincer claw this mouse, which is a grip that I use on most of the mouse I own, but because it's more on the flatter side, it's not that comfortable, and long periods of gaming will cramp my hand a little bit, so I end up just playing with a more fingertip focus grip instead, which I think fits the lower hump body more anyway, which is still very good in game and very comfortable. And I actually perform again really well with the IPI Float. Just for some size comparison, here it is beside the Hitscan Hyperlight, which is my current daily driver for now. It's the same category. I think it's more like medium small. The length is almost similar, but the grip width is slightly wider on the IPI Float, but the hump is more noticeable on the Hitscan Hyperlight, which again I prefer. The narrow width with the higher hump means that I get to play with my pincer claw more accurate, more comfy, and give me more stability in game as well. And I think I can recommend this to enough people where if they have the hand size slightly smaller than mine, it would be nice to claw this thing, or bigger to fingertip it. It's a good entry at this price, and personally something that really surprises me when I play with this mouse as well. I wasn't expecting to play that well with it, but I did, and to me that's all again that matters. The build quality on the IPI Float is actually really good. This thing is a tank. I'm just gonna squeeze as hard as I can. You can start seeing my thumb turn red. It's really solid. There's no popping, there's no creaking, there's no any sort of rattling at all. This thing is just built again like a tank. It's a carbon composite material, so it's not your normal plastic, and it's just so strong. The only point of flexing that I can find is if you press in the middle here, it will flex a little bit, which is, well, you're not going to put that much pressure on top here, and of course on the bottom, that again you won't put that much pressure there as well. The button have very minimal side to side play, which again I think is a good thing for the price, and there is only slight pre and slight post travel on both M1 and M2. So even the build quality of the EP Float is really remarkable. Now the coating of this mouse is actually quite good. It's not as chalky feeling as something again like the Hitscan Hyperlight, or it's not as grippy feeling as something like the OP1V, but personally I think the coating is good enough that I don't find myself using grip tapes while playing, which is something that's really standard for me. If there's no coating, I need grips, and if I don't have grips on my mouse, that means the coating is actually good enough for it to grip my hands, which this is. It's actually good enough. It's dry enough that it feels good in game, and my hand does sweat a lot, and even then it never affected my grip at all. The weight of this mouse is advertised at 42 grams, and my scale does seem to agree with that. I have 8 dot skates on this mouse, so if you go 4 you might get lower weight, and if you use full skate it might be like 43 grams, but 42 grams is what I get, and that is the advertised weight, which is really good. The buttons that is being used on the EP Float is called the Kale Wide Blade mechanical switch, and I personally really enjoy these switches. Pair this with the very minimal pre and post travel means that this button, this click is very light, so you can spam it, and it's tactile, it's clicky, it's crispy, and I think it's probably one of my favorite feature of EP Float. It's just really good main buttons, and I wish all $50 mouse have this good of a click. It's really good. The scroll wheel is more on the generic side of thing. It says they're using TTC Gold Dustproof, but I think it's probably the wheel or something. It doesn't feel that great. It's very light, so if you like smoother mouse scroll wheel, you probably like this one. The middle click is not too hard to actuate, but it's also not too light that it's easy to spam. I find it good enough that you won't actually accidentally scroll up and scroll down while playing, so I think that's good. The side button implementation is also really good. It's Kale side buttons, I don't know what exactly, but it feels really nice. There's very slight pre-travel on both M4 and M5, but there is slight post-travel, as you guys can see on the back there. It doesn't affect me in the game, just something I want to point out. No issue at all. It's very nice, and the shape protrudes out of the body like a lot. I don't know if you guys can see that. So it's easy to find these side buttons while playing, and it's not hard to actuate at all. So like as you guys can see here, it's very easy to spam the side buttons. If you play Fortnite, I don't think you have issue with using the side buttons in game at all. Now the sensor that's being used on the EP Float here is a 3395 with up to 8000 Hz polling rate capabilities, and I think the implementation of the 3395 is really good. I have noticed no drop off, no jitteriness, no latency issues, and in playing games like Apex Legends, Overwatch, tracking feels smooth. It doesn't feel floaty, and games where flicking is more important like Valorant, I've never noticed any sort of skip out or jumping issues on this sensor at all. I play mostly and mainly on 4K Hz, so mileage may vary if you play on 1K or 8K, but personally on 4K I have again noticed no issue or trouble in game at all. The included dongle is quite on the larger side, but it's nice. There is EP logo inside there and here, and it lights up when you plug it in. There's also Bluetooth capability if you need that, but again I personally don't use Bluetooth. I don't really care about it, but it's there. So again, for the $50 price, it's good. The battery life on this mouse varies depend on which polling rate you play on. It's not objective, it's mainly subjective on how much I spend my time on this mouse, but on my experience 4K Hz can only last me about 2 days of heavy usage. So if you play 8K Hz, expect that to be a day or less, and if you play 2K Hz, expect it to be less than a week. But just remember that if you want the most battery life, go 1K Hz and you can get more than a week. And if you want the best performance, which is 8K Hz, just expect you to charge every single night. The mouse feed of this mouse, again, it's something that I did not receive. He lent me just straight like this, but he did told me how it feels like. I'll read it out for you guys. Quote, black ones are the stock skates. There's a spare white one. The glide feeling is just like basic Chinese skates, and the glossy coating on these skates will slow down after 10 to 15 games. That's what he said. I'm just quoting him. He changed it to the Obsidian, which I think if you buy this mouse, just change the skate. It feels so much nicer in terms of just gliding in. If it was me, if this was my mouse, I would put the Jades, of course, but it's not. And the software of the mouse is quite good too. I mean, not quite good, it's actually quite mid. It's a downloadable software. I'll leave the link down in the description below. I wish it's web-based, which would be much more modern and much more cooler, but just to go in there and change your settings and uninstall it, I think it does the job. It's good enough. It's not offensive or not spectacular in any way as well. And I think that's about it. I covered all the things I want to talk about the EP Float, except for the fact that if you like the design of this golden trigger, and if you like the shape and what feature EP actually offers on the Float 88, I would recommend it. If you have any questions you want to ask me about the EP Float, leave them down in the comment section down below. I'll try to answer them as soon as I can, as fast as I can. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you don't like it and you have some criticism you want to give me, leave me a thumbs down. They both help me out a lot and I appreciate them. And yeah, that's about it. Thank you very much. Goodbye.